I fully believe in the green button that Jason and I had discussed before. There is no reason that I can, on my laptop right now, if I wanted to share my information with the world, okay, I can log on to va.gov. I can see all my information. I can download my records. Social Securities are associated with that. HIPAA is associated with that. It's a secure login to the VA. There's no reason a veteran cannot have access to their C file for the VA disability claims process. There's none. We have secure login. It's through ID.me, through DS Logon, whatever it is that you use. It's a secure logon. If the VA were transparent through the process, it would fix a lot of issues. It would also give power to the veteran to keep the VA honest. I'll just give one example, right? Let's say you submit a fully developed claim, meaning you have, with your claim, you submitted evidence from service, you submitted a current diagnosis, you have a current DBQ with your diagnosis and your symptoms, and you have a Nexus letter. Bam, that's fully developed. What's the VA going to do? They're going to schedule you a CMP exam. They're not supposed to, but they're going to. And so if the VA were transparent through the process, now as a veteran, I can say, hey, why am I scheduled for a CMP exam? And if there is a valid reason saying the DBQ missed something, whatever, fine. If there's not, now the veteran has the power to say, hey, that's not right. And we can't do that right now. That's why veterans are mad at the VA, because we have absolutely zero power. Once that claim is submitted, that's it. Right? Unless you're using an accredited rep. And even there, VSOs will say they can advocate for the veteran during the claims process, which they absolutely can. That's a true statement, but not to the scale of what that truly means. To go to bat for the veteran. Even the accredited rep is at the whim of the VA's process. That's why you'll hear VSOs all the time. VSOs will complain about the VA because of that same reason. They have no power. And so that's really, transparency specifically for the VA disability claims process. If the VA did that one thing, I think it would alleviate so many issues by itself. I'll kind of stop it on there, Jason. And then what are your thoughts on just transparency or the green button?
Yeah, I love the green button idea. I think that they should implement that. I think that it's a twofold kind of, fix. I think that the transparency aspect, sure, right, for us to know, kind of what things look like, what's going on, where things are at. But still, it's the education piece. A veteran who doesn't know, right? So they're not going to go, here's the, here it is in the M21, and here's where we're at. And so now you can compare and contrast. They're not going to do that. So you have to do that. Mm-hmm. And we're lazy, so we're not, right? So then we're, okay, great, green button, woo, there it is. And that's about it. So I think that it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Clay. The amount of time that it takes for a VSR to complete claims and how many claims they have to process as far as their quotas are concerned, that process needs to be revamped. And it shouldn't be that. It should be how many of your claims that you processed got appealed and overturned. That is what we're going to measure your success on, right? Because it's all trackable. It's all data. It's all living in a digital world, and you touched it and now it did this and then it did that. You lost. Hey, they did that. It still went back to what you did. Good, right? So, and maybe if it's just at the VA level, the VBA for HLRs and for supplementals, and that's the criteria. If it goes to the board and they overturn, doesn't count against you for your spot, right? Only for higher level reviews and supplementals. And even then, supplementals probably shouldn't even count because now there's
new evidence. Yeah.
Right. So I think that we need to change that, though, from how fast can you get them done to a different way that encompasses quality. The problem, though, is that you're running this gigantic organization that has a huge backlog that you're getting just hammered in the face every day about. And so you're trying to speed up the process, right?
Yeah,
But
there's
now you're
issues. Yeah.
suffering with quality. Now, sure, we can jump quality up, but now the process is going to take longer and the backlog is going to get bigger, and I'm going to get hit in the face again for that. So it's this weird kind of space. And I think that we as a community need to be okay with something, right? Which one do you want? Do you want quality or do you want quickness, right? Is a real conversation, right? Because always asking for more money doesn't always work. So working with what we got, what would you prefer, right? And what do you want to hold the VA accountable for? Of course, you want to say both, right? I want it fast and I want it, quality. Well, that's not real. Let's be realistic for a minute. I think that one aspect to that is really segregating out the claims, right? Just age, criteria, first claim versus additional claims, right? Somebody who's rated 60% already and they put in something that might take them to a 70 or an 80, maybe that claim takes a little bit longer, right? Because you have a person who's brand new, they're just filing their claim now, or you have somebody who's 93 years old and they're filing their claim. Probably front load those ones, right? Look, we're all used to that to some extent. I think that if it was the rule of the land, we would be, if we knew that that's what it was, right? Like, here's the rule of the land. It's like the gunny who's waiting to eat after everybody else eats, right? So we kind of have that in our mindset and in our DNA that certain folks get to go first, right? In this case, on the veteran side, hey, the 93-year-old vet, have at it, man. I'll wait 2 more months. I'll wait 3 more months. You go. I would gladly say that. Especially if I already had a 60% or a 70% and I just filed an additional claim for whatever. So I think that there should be, instead of a first come, first serve, given the circumstances that we're in from an organizational level, right? So no more money, we'll say, no more money to address the problem. Fix it as you have it. Okay, I'm going to segregate claims. I'm going to prioritize in different buckets, maybe 3 or 4 different buckets, and I'm going to remove the KPIs for all of my staff. Right, my performance indicators for raises and stuff are going to change and be more about doing the right things and getting the quality aspect up. And I'm going to have it segregated, and that's how I'm going to kind of function it to get through this. Sadly, money doesn't grow on a tree, right? Here we are. It's already, it's the budget of the VA is really astronomical. Actually, it's just such a huge number, and it's so huge that outsiders and even some people who you would think wouldn't say anything just because they're part of the military question the amount of money that's being spent on veteran affairs stuff, right? And so that's a slippery slope. And if you can fix it without asking for more, it's probably the better way to go, in my opinion, right? Because I think that we're going to continue to see claims rise even as we're decreasing in veteran population from awareness, right? And look, it's not that people are mistreating the system and they're taking advantage of it. No, it's that people don't really realize the benefits they have. And it wasn't until recently that there's information like this coming out from the people that have been doing this for 5, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, however long they've been doing it, to the people like me and you who've been doing it for a couple years, and all the different vlogs and the Had It and the this and the that and all the different places. I think that it's awareness, right? The awareness has increased so much that it's going to continue to drive claims up, which equals money. So I think we just need to be careful with where we're at with the budget, not on claim stuff, but more like, additional stuff. If it takes a year and 4 months to process a claim, maybe we have to be okay with that. It used to take 4 or 5 years. I mean, So anyway, what are your thoughts on some of that stuff, Clay? I'd love to
Yeah.
remind a little bit.
I think so. The HVAC, which is the House of Veteran Affairs Committee, they are the ones that really drive what the VA does, right? And the information that they receive, they're kind of the decision maker, HVAC, and I'm using that as a generalization because it's Congress. Um, they are the decision maker, and so what is briefed to them, they then interpret and then give guidance to the VA. That's the process. That's how the process works. It's much more than that, but that's the synopsis, right? And so I would make the argument that what is being briefed to the HVAC is being handpicked and cherry picked, and that's what leads us to where we're at right now. For instance, if the backlog was such a huge contentious piece from the PACT Act specifically, and that's the only thing that anyone heard from essentially 2020, the end of 2021 to right now, basically backlog this, backlog that, backlog this, and that's why. That's being briefed to HVAC. HVAC's like, hey, VA, fix this problem. Boom. That's why we see 1 million plus PACT Act claims approved. And then we have this time quota issue, and that has now turned into other issues. The reason why I say that is because I would make the argument that what is being briefed to the committee is not the actual problem. Right. So, for instance, the last hearing, 97% of DBQs completed by CMP examiners are good. It's like, hey, that might be a factual statement, but that's not the story. Right. The story is what's happening on the ground are CMP examiners suck, and CMP exams are being scheduled 168 miles away. Okay. I know this because I just saw it in my email. That's one example. There are millions of examples just like that, but yet HVAC is getting the brief of 97% are correct. Then you have Mr. Gallucci's testimony of saying, hey, my exam was 62 miles, but it was fixed. Everything got handled. It's like, okay, because you texted the director of CMP exams, right? And you are the executive director of the VFW. I mean, that's a position that when you speak, people move. But we don't have that privilege. And so I would make the argument that the information HVAC is getting it's just not what's going on. What needs to happen, and I'm going to say something wild. I would love to see your everyday 9-to-5 type veteran, not a VSO, just some veteran who can articulate their thoughts and say, hey, HVAC, here was my process. Okay. I don't want to hear about Mr. Gallucci's process because it's not the same. He has means, he has the privilege. Congress needs to hear from veterans, and that's not happening. What they're hearing is 97% of DBQs are complete. What they're hearing is Mr. Gallucci had a discrepancy. It got solved.
It got fixed. With a phone call or a text.
I'm gonna say something very strong. So the fuck what, dude?
Right.
That's not what's happening, and that is, in my opinion, the core problem is Congress is not being informed on what's actually happening. I'm going to say something that's bad about VSOs. I think VSOs, when they brief Congress, they have a business perspective, right? Instead of a veteran perspective. And I'll die on that hill every day. And these are just some of the core problems with VHA and DBQs and CMP examiners and VSRs. Being lazy would be a generalization, right? And transparency, and then we have the HVAC hearing. All of these are little bitty things that make up the VA disability claims process and why it doesn't work.
Right. Clay, you brought it up, and I'm going to kind of just give a call to action, if you will. If you have issues with anything like what Clay's talking about, right? The peek behind the curtain of the real process with DBQs, having to go far away, shoddy exam, all of that type of stuff. Imagine for one moment if 1,000 of you reached out to your congressional district office and told them that, right? Mm-hmm. There's easily hundreds of you in some congressional districts, thousands of you in other congressional districts who have, over the course of the last 5 years, experienced something with the VA. Express it at the constituency level. You are the voting block for that congressional member, right? Not the VSO at Capitol Hill talking with them to figure out what kind of how we can pose in front of the Capitol with whatever bill in our hands, right? We need both things. Don't get me wrong. We do need the veteran service organizations championing stuff at the
Yeah.
Capitol, but we need
Yes.
you in the districts banging on the desk, right? This could be a phone call. This could be a leave a message after hours. This could be shoot them an email. This could be swing by. These offices are open. You can walk in. It's an office. They're there to serve you. They're going to ask you what you're there for. They have a staffer who directly deals with military and veteran issues. Talk with that staffer. Let them know your thoughts. Write it down. Hand it to them, right? If enough people do it, we might actually get either some real questions asked in these type of hearings, right? Well, I've heard from 47 constituents in my district in the last whatever days that this is happening. Explain that, right? So just quiet mouths don't get fed. I'm just saying. Back to you, Clay.
Yeah, I got a little heated there. I'm still a little heated, actually. Totally agree. I'll probably digress from that topic, but it all comes down to transparency, right? The
Green
committee
button.
doesn't understand the process because the VA is not being transparent during the hearing. The VA is not being transparent to the veteran, which is why when a CMP examiner doesn't do their due diligence, the veteran doesn't even have a voice until the claim's decided. That's wrong, right? It all comes down to transparency. That's really all I have, Jason. Unless that sparks any thoughts, and then you can go ahead and take it away from there.
You know, I do have one last thought on that. Imagine this process. Imagine they go through the claims process, and before they finalize your claim, they say, hey, this is what we're proposing. Do you agree? No, I don't agree. Here's some more information. Or did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Boom, they take another extra month, and then they decide, right? So you skip the whole supplemental, you skip the HLR, and you don't have to wait for it. You don't have to then schedule it and then, and wait. It would streamline that whole process, because I can guarantee that many claims get an HLR or get a supplemental, right?
Yeah.
So let's just front load that with here's a sneak peek. Here's the percentage that we're looking to award you for that condition. Do you agree? You get like 10 days to say something, or they move forward, right? Bam, they move forward, you're good. You don't, well, now you're doing an HLR right then in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not going to take any extra time. I don't know. Anyway, so I'd love to get people's thoughts on that anyway in the description or in the comments. That'd be cool. And with that, Clay, unless you have anything to add to that.
No, that was a symphony. That's exactly how the process should work.